Hey everyone, welcome back to the Teens for Business podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
I'm Kylan.
And I'm Jackie.
Today we'll be discussing the recent Lunar New Year holiday, how it is celebrated, and its economic impacts. So the 2024 Lunar New Year occurred on February 10th, 2024 as the world transitioned from the Year of the Rabbit to the Year of the Dragon. Despite all of us coming from Chinese backgrounds, we probably all celebrated the holiday in different ways. So just to start off, what are some characteristics of the 2024 Lunar New Year that you guys know about?
I can go first. So just a little bit more about like Chinese culture when we're talking about like year of the like rabbit, year of the dragon. So there's different like animals that really depend on your birth year. It's like every 12 years. So like every like 12 years there's like an animal per those years. And so funny enough, my mom is the year of the dragon, and then I'm like year of the dog. And I think probably all of us are year of the dog. Um, and so like kind of the different years. It's about like, oh, like 2024 is year of the dragon. So that's kind of just like another way of saying like, oh, it's like the dragon's like lucky year. And that's like essentially what it means. And so a lot of like what it is, like obviously the year you're born in, like probably doesn't really have that much to do with your personality, but like that's kind of what the Chinese culture is about. It's like the general take on like what a dragon is that they're a lot more like risk taking and they embrace challenges more. And so like they have different career types that are traditionally like thought to be dragon friendly. So kind of like engineer, lawyers, sometimes like more finance side, journalists, things like that. And so there's like a lot of different like things associated with being a dragon, like having a lucky year. So that's kind of just what it means. But of course, like even if you're not like born in the year of the dragon, like the Chinese New Year is also still like a really just celebratory day for everyone. And just there's a lot of big like festivals, parties, just get-togethers as a whole.
Yeah, it's like Chinese New Year is like probably the biggest day, the biggest event for many Asian people that to celebrate like Lunar New Year as a whole. And just kind of adding on to what Jackie said already, like the dragon is one of the twelve animals. It's kind of like a 12 year cycle. Every 12 years is gonna reset. And there's actually each year is actually associated with a specific animal and as well as one of the five elements, which are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And yeah, so the year of the dragon is kind of just associated with being ambitious, charismatic, people just like going after it. I mean, each animal got its own thing. But yeah, so basically people who are born in the year of the dragon, it's supposed to be a super good year for them. It's gonna be good luck. And yeah, so super excited for the coming year.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just gonna add a little bit onto what Jackie and Kyvan have both mentioned. Like, there's a lot of lucky things that come with being also like a dragon. Like, there are also like lucky numbers. Those numbers are one, six, and seven. And there's also some colors that are like gold, silver, and some and obviously just the general colors of the Chinese New Year, which is also red and yellow. So those are all really like lucky things that come with the Year of the Dragon, and definitely excited for what this year is gonna bring for us. And then let's transition to how did you guys celebrate the 2024 Lunar New Year so far?
We honestly had like a pretty low-key celebration. Um, there was like Chinese New Year's Eve is also like a really big event. So we just had like kind of a dinner with family, and some friends came over. And then on the actual day of Lunar New Year, so that was like the Saturday of, and we just kind of went to like this little get together for it was like dinner-ish time period. And so that's just really fun. I think it's like such a celebratory time for family and friends, closer friends. And I'm sure we'll talk about this more as well, like talking about things like the gifts that we give during Lunar New Year. But I think it's just really fun. There's a lot of like family time, a lot of friends time, I guess. And so yeah, that was just a really fun time as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's definitely bigger, it's way bigger in China. I remember like I don't know, it was a long time ago, but I was in China one time to when it was actually Chinese New Year, and it was just like a couple weeks of whole celebration. I think here in the United States, we just mainly focus on like our small like immediate family, maybe if your grandparents are over here and close friends. But yeah, we just like get-togethers, like the night of Chinese New Year or the Eve is also like just celebrating this event with your friends and family. In terms of like red pocket money, I think that's a pretty big thing here. I know like you have grandparents or aunts and uncles, they love to give you red pocket money, but with my like most of my family, like extended family being in China, it's just you can ask your parents for some. So yeah, I think I got $200 this year. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I celebrated in the same way as Jackie, a pretty low-key celebration. Like I had dinner with my parents on both the Chinese New Year Eve and the Lunar New Year Day. And it was a pretty big dinner. We had some hot pot with like traditional Chinese food, which was pretty nice. And then in terms of like red pocket money, I know we'll talk about this later, but like in the gift section in general, like I most of the red pocket money I received, I did receive $200 from parents, but also like from my relatives across the sea, they also gave me a chunk of money that they sent to my parents through WeChat. And also, I'd like to talk about like another like WeChat like culture that like I kind of like partake in. So like it's like on like the during like the time of like the New Year's, sometimes we like exchange red envelopes for fun, and then we try to see who can get them like the fastest. Like and then so yesterday and the day before and the Lunar New Year Eve, we were just like we were doing that and it was super fun. It was like in a way it was a little bit competitive to see who would be lucky on that day and who would get a lot of money. So that's personally a tradition that I like to celebrate every year and this year was no different. And then now let's transition into like a more general question. Like how do people in general celebrate the coming of a Lunar New Year both in like America and in China?
There's probably like a lot of traditions. I know one thing I actually wanted to mention though was that like in China, it's like a really, really big holiday. And from like what I know, it's like not just like, oh, you take like the Friday off and like you take, Saturday, like obviously that's off anyway, but like you just take Friday off. And it's like, it's like a whole like period of time. You don't have to go to work. And I assume like that's different for like every region or like it might be different. But I know like from where my parents are from, Shanghai, like there's just like so much time for people to like I don't know, like go and celebrate with their family, and just like I guess just take a little break. So it's not just like, oh, take Friday off. It's like no, like you have like this entire, I think it's like 7 days or 14 days, but it's like a long period. It's like kind of like our Christmas, but like even longer, like winter break, but like longer. And so I think that's like fascinating. And I think also like when you look at like China specifically, like even during like you would think like, oh, all these restaurants are open, like all this is like open. Like no, that's it's not. And like everyone just kind of celebrates with their family. And it's I think even though there's a lot of celebrations, it's a little bit more low key than what you would imagine with it, just because like there's like kind of this take a break, go rest with your family vibe going on. Um, I'm sure like that's different for like every store per se or like every region, but that's just kind of what I've seen. And so I don't know, I just thought that was fascinating because here it's like if it's like I mean it makes sense because if it's like a holiday like Thanksgiving or if it's Christmas, we don't have that many restaurants open either. So it makes sense. But I just thought how like it's like a long period of time is really interesting.
Yeah. It's just I guess like in American holidays, I guess there's a couple big ones, but I think in terms of for Asian people, like I think Lunar New Year is the main like the number one thing that's like the biggest. That's why it goes on for so long, like the celebrations last couple weeks. And yeah, in terms of just in general of people celebrating it, main thing is just like family reunions, kind of like meeting up with family. And there's a big like dinner on the New Year's Eve, which is you're just getting together with your family. You're eating like a it's called a nian ye fan in Chinese, and it's just yeah, you're just spending time with family and as many people as possible. And it's just like, it's one of the most essential things to celebrating this Chinese New Year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of those points. When I was in China in 2018 celebrating the Lunar New Year, I definitely experienced the same way that was described by both Kaiven and Jackie. Like it's a huge holiday. When I went shopping, pretty much everyone was there to get like all those like posters, all of those plants, and just anything that they want to like make their Lunar New Year more like more enjoyable. And that kind of like demonstrates that there's like a lot of spending that is occurring in the new year. And also on the point of like travel, like a lot of people like during the Chinese New Year, they take off work for around like 2 or 3 weeks so they can go home and celebrate with their family. So those like stores and some restaurants are closing down, but also we could see that a lot of people are traveling around to where they originally like came from and grew up in to celebrate with their extended family. And that is definitely another trend that I have seen a lot. Like a lot of my family from a little bit farther away in like the Shanghai like rural area between Shanghai and Suzhou, they all came over to Shanghai to celebrate with me during 2018. So that was pretty fun. Also on Lunar New Year Eve, there's also a big TV gala that's pretty long. And normally when people are eating dinner or like after eating dinner or like talking, they usually turn on that TV and just watch that gala until the end of the day. And yeah, so those are the main ways that people in general like celebrate the coming of the Lunar New Year. And since we just discussed like a lot of like spending, a lot of like travel aspects, let's dive into the economics that are associated with the Lunar New Year. And obviously like when we see like a graph of like the Chinese economy over like year by year, we can see that the Lunar New Year often causes a spike in consumer spending in China, which obviously boosts their GDP significantly. And so, what aspects of the Lunar New Year do you think could possibly have a large effect on this spending?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. But I think one of the points I wanted to mention, touching upon Jack's thing about how like there's this big gala. There's often like a lot of celebrities in that gala because it's like such a big event. There's like a lot of celebrities hosting it. Just people in the audience, like like little camera shots of them. But just in general, it's like a very celebrity-filled event. And I think it's funny because it's a really, really big broadcasted thing. So like I know my parents, like my dad gets up at like 6:30 every day anyway. But like when I was getting ready for school on that Friday or on that day, I just like hear him like watching it at like 7 a.m. And I'm like, wow, it's like 7 a.m. Like it's very early. So I just think it's funny how like it's really big, like even though it's technically like released in China, how like a lot of Chinese Americans also watch it here in the US. And I'm sure like that whole event in itself like just produces a lot of money and like there's just a lot of transitions, like economic transitions going on there. In terms of like actual like the real like GDP boosters that I'm thinking of is traveling and costs associated with traveling because as Jack also mentioned in China, for example, like if you're living in a big city, but let's say like the rest of your family is in like some other part of China. And so like because it's such a family oriented event, like you would go back and travel to be with your family. And so there's just a lot of different costs associated with that. And so like, like even though like one person's train ticket might not be that much or like that contributory, but like if you look at like a grand scheme of how like there's a lot of different people in like these cities. For example, I think Shanghai and Beijing. So there's a lot of people there who like aren't like natives there, I guess. But like for example, they move there to work or they move there for their education, things like that. And so they would go back into like wherever they're from originally and just celebrate with their family there. And so that like there's just a lot of people like that. And so like that is like the big cost of like taking a train or taking like the metro or whatever form of transportation that they have. So I think that's probably one of the biggest costs out there.
Yeah, definitely. I think that especially because the whole point is just to like be with family. It's definitely going to be increased spending and just in terms of the traveling. I in China you can probably take like yeah the train or like just however is easiest to get there, and also like gift giving. I think in addition to the red pockets and stuff where you give to other people, I think there's other stuff that you can buy as well, other decorations, especially. I know like these like supermarkets in China, they're like huge. Like they have like everything. They have so much stuff for Chinese New Year. It's crazy. They just have these I don't know what they call it, but you have like it's like a square. You kind of put it's red, you put it up. It's this bunch of decorations, and yeah. So I think people, especially just during this time of year, they feel the need or like they want to. They're more willing to spend more money just to like make sure the next year they have is a good year just by doing all these like traditions. Like they believe like I don't know if it's like superstitious thing, but they just believe that like putting your money and your trying super hard during this time of year just to set up the next year for success kind of.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Like, and I'm gonna expand a little bit on Kevin's point about like gift giving and like just like purchasing of those like I guess like luxury gifts or something like that. Like a lot of people like get those to like set them up for the new year and then like put them on their doors and like it's like a reminder that you're kind of like in this year, it's gonna give you like it's good luck. I guess like even like putting it on your door in a way is also good luck, just like bringing the luck home and like also like associated with what like with like what is like being also being bought in China in terms of like gifts and like fine art. We also see like a lot of like posters, like what Kyvan mentioned, some like toy lanterns, a lot of calligraphy, and even some like pottery that's pretty common in China based off of what I've seen. And I also think something that also needs to be addressed is food costs because obviously we have those like big dinners um, on the Chinese New Year Eve and sometimes even on the night of the Chinese Lunar New Year. Those food obviously cost a lot of money, and if you want to get together with like your whole like a bunch of like extended family members, that's going to cost a lot of money because you have to get enough food just to like make sure that everybody eats like very well so that they can go into the new year feeling like fresh and all of that. So so food cost is also definitely a large part of potentially what has been contributing to the spending in China during this Lunar New Year celebration. And a few episodes ago, we actually discussed the issue of deflation in China's economy, and that's obviously causing to a little bit of an economic downturn in China right now. So, do you think that the condition of deflation will change for China's economy as a result of the Lunar New Year spending? And if not, what do you think would just happen with China's economy in general?
That's a pretty good question. I think also, there's I think it definitely will help a little bit because there's just like so much spending, like consumer spending that's going on with it. But at the same time, I don't think it's gonna like reverse this trajectory of, deflation. Like as we've talked about before, like it's a spike, like in spending. And so just because something spikes doesn't mean that reverses a whole trend or like that reverses like a whole effect in the economy. And so I think definitely like people are motivated to spend more. They will spend more, and they probably have already spent more for it. But at the same time, I don't think just because it's like one day or like, like this one event as a whole, I don't think it has that big of a effect on the economy such that like deflation just starts being reversed, like I think that there's a lot more to do with like economic policy or whatever the government decides to do that's more impactful towards the economy than just, Lunar New Year and its festivities.
Yeah, I agree. I think that like despite there's definitely gonna be like a short term kind of like surge in spending that's gonna kind of push up like it's gonna kind of it's actually gonna cause a little bit of inflation, but I feel like because this is so short term, it's gonna die back down pretty quickly. So I don't think it's gonna have that large of a change on for like China's economy, which is dealing with this deflation right now. So I just feel like there needs to be some sort of policy like when we covered this topic a couple episodes ago. I think we mentioned like the government needs to kind of find a way to make sure to put more money back into the economy and incentivize people to spend. I think Chinese New Year is like a good starting point, but you need to be able to build off that.
Yeah, I also think that the trajectory of China's economy won't really change due to like a small spike like of spending that is caused by the Lunar New Year. Actually, I read an article like a few days ago that China was planning to scale back on some of their Lunar New Year celebrations just due to these like money concerns. So that just like demonstrates what I guess like shape in of China's economy that they are undergoing right now. And obviously like since like everybody is taking like a break to go back to their family and celebrate, that also means that those businesses are also on break. So that means like the production is slowing. So that is definitely another thing that we need to like take into account. Obviously, that effect is not going to be able to cancel out the effect of all the spending that is occurring. But I just think I don't think like a big spike in like spending or like I guess like GDP growth can like really like change or like change the trajectory of where that economy is going. I do think that China's economy will rebound for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks a little bit, but I still think when they go back to what they're normally doing after those celebrations of the Lunar New Year, I do think that unfortunately they will have to go back they'll go back to dealing with like the deflation that is going on in their economy. And I think after that, they will need to like change their viewpoint in order to like find a way to fix it. Okay, so the final question, and hopefully a little bit of a more fun one. Do you guys know of any businesses that have offered like products or special services and offers that are catered to the Lunar New Year? And have you bought any of them or taken advantage of any of these offers?
Oh, that's a really fun question. So the one I think of immediately is something I saw online on Instagram. It was this bubble tea shop. It was in California. I don't know how my algorithm got that ad, but it was a post about bubble tea in California and how it was kind of like in the shape of like the Lunar New Year, and like the bottles were different colors and like different shapes as well. It wasn't like the normal like cup. It was like a little different shape. And so I thought like the square thing that a lot of people hang on their windows and like doors, etc. But like it's in the shape of that. And I thought that was like really, really cool because like the drinks that they had in it were also like red, yellow, like it was like colored as well. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And so like obviously it's in California. Like I did not have the chance to travel to California this past 2 days. But I haven't also seen it in Maryland. So maybe it's just a California thing. But I thought that was really, really cool to see it. Because I know like bubble tea shops, like in the past, I've seen that they do different like shapes. Like I know for Christmas they had something, and like the holiday season back in like late 2023, there was just like gingerbread, like little cups instead of like the regular things. But I don't know, I just thought that was like really cool, and I think that's like great if I were to be in California.
Yeah, I think that I personally I don't think I've seen a lot of like promotions catered to Lunar New Year yet. I think in terms of online, there's a couple like clothing retailers. I guess they release like maybe like special New Year, Lunar New Year promotions and some deals like that. But yeah, I guess maybe I haven't been like looking hard enough, but I don't think I feel like especially like in America, I guess I don't think Lunar New Year is as big of a thing as especially like the previous holidays that we just been doing like Thanksgiving and Christmas and things like that. So yeah, I don't think I've seen that much so far.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of the opposite of Kyvan. I've actually seen more a lot of more promotions and like special like offers. I've actually bought one myself. Lego released a dragon build that you could like build individually, and my family and I we just built it together, and that was like really nice to make. And it just symbolizes luck for the new year and the year of the dragon, 2024. And I also saw that Kate Spade, Louis Vuitton have offered like a lot of like luxury products that are catered towards like the new year. And I guess like those are like part of like a collections item like type of bundle. And then on the other hand, also like there's also Lunar New Year motifs that are often like featured on like beauty products, and those like can often carry like a certain like smell that correlate with like a certain part of the Lunar New Year that could like bring like a lot of luck. And also in terms of like greeting cards, e-cards, like credit, like gift cards and like that. Like I know that Hallmark and some other like card companies have definitely made some Lunar New Year styled cards with depicting a dragon, and those look really nice. And then in terms of red envelopes, because I thought this was super interesting. I'm not sure whether Starbucks does this now, but when I was in China a few years ago, they actually offered Starbucks like authentic like red envelopes that they made themselves of different styles, and those are really fun to see and collect. And as a red envelope collector, I like to, and I've collected all of them from the 2018, but I don't think I've seen one yet in 2024. I'm not even sure if they have one, but I think that some companies are definitely offering some like of their own versions of red envelopes, and
Yeah.
that is very nice.
Yeah,
Jenny, you want
definitely.
to add? Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I know like this is random, but like Aritzia, I saw online like they have their red envelopes. And that's like really funny because like it's a clothing brand. Like obviously, if it's like a really sentimental thing, like I doubt any grandparents like from China are really like giving their grandkids in America like Aritzia red envelopes, red pockets. But I think that's funny that they have that. And honestly, I appreciate that too. So
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that like a lot of companies are looking out for the new year, and like they're obviously doing a lot of like traditions to like celebrate it, or in like making new products and making new offers or potential discounts to cater to towards the new year. Uh, just like Kyvan said, it's not as big as other holidays like Thanksgiving is or Christmas is in America, but it's definitely still very big in America, and definitely like a lot of like Asian and Chinese people in America, they also like to celebrate Lunar New Year a lot, and I think they can do so in like the best possible way with what is being offered, some of the products are being offered, and just everything that is catered towards the Lunar New Year. And it definitely poses a great experience for everyone. So thank you for tuning in today on today's podcast for discussing the 2024 Lunar New Year. I'm your host, Jack, and see you on the next episode.